Hello and welcome to the CX Files podcast. I'm your host, Mark Hillary. The way that customers interact with brands has changed completely in the past decade, and this has created a need to hire people into customer service roles in a very different way to when the focus was just on voice-based contact centers. The need for greater skills in CX is something I've often written about, and I recently read a blog by Cohen, the managing director of iContact BPO in Johannesburg, South Africa, where he argued that it all starts with a change to the way recruitment works. Clinton argued that we need to raise skill levels and create a recruitment environment where people are hired with greater skills and then more focus is made on retaining them and giving them a career path. I called Clinton to ask him about this and if he really thinks the days of attrition in the contact center are over. Okay, so let's go straight to the interview. I saw a recent blog that you posted on LinkedIn that was around hiring for contact centers and how it's changing. And especially one interesting thing you said was that the days of high attrition in contact centers might be over. So what is changing then?
So Mark, to that point, the role of the agent is changing. The role in the contact center is changing. The demands of the customers are changing. Those are higher than ever before. The clients who are outsourcing work to BPO centers have increased. So that need for the super agent has been spoken about so often. The need to have them being brand influencers, talking to customers, being the authority, builds that line of trust and credibility. And the agents are then seeing their need to be a part of a bigger global picture, which we then see attrition rates slower as they've got a sense of purpose and growth within organizations.
Okay, so it's clear that it's not just around the communication skills then. So we're talking about the agents moving to actually be an influencer, very knowledgeable about the products. And then they also need just more skills because they're operating across many more channels than just voice. And they have all these kind of supportive technologies. So automation, being able to respond to AI prompts and stuff like that. So with all of this change, I mean, certainly in terms of the technical skills and the business skills, I mean, do you think that people are perceiving that a career in CX, I mean, starting out as an agent, it's not just a sort of dead-end thing that you do during the holidays. There's a real career developing here with real skills.
Absolutely. I mean, the perception around a career in CX is certainly changing. We're seeing the significance and the importance of agents realizing their impact on customers and their role. The career and the technology and the support that gives these agents insight in how to handle customers better has taken the contact center, which I want to say for one purpose has been one-dimensional in the past. It's certainly anything of that today. It's exciting, it's dynamic, and agents, team leaders, skill sets, technology, AI, bots, they're all culminating into this career path that's paving a new landscape. So it's certainly the beginning of the perception changing for career paths of CX. And I think it's only going to compound astronomically above that.
I mean, we're talking about some quite specialized skills, aren't we, in some cases? People who can program artificial intelligence, people who can analyze big data or build robotic automation. I mean, if we've got these kind of high-end coding skills in particular, how do we attract them into an environment such as the contact center that quite often people perceive it as low paid?
Right. So, I mean, that's a great question. I think the high-end skills and the demands for this, I like to call them the super smart data, big data, analytics individuals. I think their demand is really is scarce. However, I think they're being met in our market through above market related salaries, where the need to have them in-house is certainly an option. And the way we would get them into the environment then is through paying higher than market related salaries. Saying that on the other end, in certain instances, there is the ability to still outsource this function to third parties or remote users who have the skill set and the ability to do it. But I think the key around that is that high-end skill set is certainly in a high-end demand. How we get them in-house, I think if we're able to pay the salaries, we're able to onboard them. And then I suppose it comes down to, what is the culture fit of the organization, that the perception around a contact center isn't necessarily fun, dynamic. I suppose, those are all the secondary attributes that then come across in terms of onboarding the right skilled individual.
Yeah, and that idea of cultural fit is important as well. I mean, if you have people in a contact center supporting gamers, it's very different to supporting customers of a bank. So how do you, or what kind of tools, or how do you identify the candidates that are going to fit the culture? Even if they've got the right skills, how do you sort of find that cultural fit?
Right. I mean, that's a phenomenal, and I think that's the $1 million question that we continuously look for in the recruitment, in the hiring process. With today's availability with technology, it certainly helps us in terms of pre-screening and filtering out non-relevant or substandard candidates. But from the recruitment perspective, it's certainly being able to ask the right interview questions to ensure that the skill sets of individuals generally are there, but do they fit your organizational culture? In our terms, are they young? Are they dynamic? Are they entrepreneurial? So going after those like-minded people are really important from a long-term perspective in terms of the recruitment process.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting, because then if you have got those kind of young, entrepreneurial, dynamic people on the team, how do you keep them? How do you keep them happy? Because those are exactly the kind of people who are going to be asking you every 3 months, when is my next promotion,
Absolutely. I mean, it reminds me of the Richard Branson quote, where he says, train people well enough so they can leave, treat them well enough so they don't want to. And I think from our perspective, once we bring on successful candidates through recruitment, it's the ongoing encouragement of healthy competitions in teams, going into the teamwork side of work, the constant coaching and training, upskilling and educating. We adopt the view in our contact center that our trainers aren't just trainers. They need to be seen as mentors. They need to train with mentorship mindsets. And this hopefully then results in empowered and fired up employees who hit their performance targets and produce quality campaign results.
That's interesting. I mean, it's sort of acknowledging that there's been a tremendous change and a need to really value the people, because you're talking about highly skilled people that really affect the customer relationship. So if you were sort of summarizing a lot of these changes, that I think that probably we've seen most of it in the last 5 years or so, what would your top tips be if you were talking about building a recruitment strategy that needed to find the right culture but also keep those people?
From a recruitment aspect, we understand that the continuous costs of recruitment can be really high if we don't get it right. So the traditional methods of internal employee referrals or headhunting, there's always certainly a place and a time for that type of recruiting. But we're certainly finding that there's a shift in the focus of attracting these right people that is very campaign specific, and for organizations to understand their brands, their cultures, the values, and ensuring that we get the hiring right the first time. That's one piece of kind of the strategy that we're paying close attention to. Secondly, the retention side and keeping the staff so that you don't go through the attrition rate and churn cycles, whether it be through quality awards and recognition, career pathing for individuals, and really from a recruitment strategy hand in hand with training, coaching, mentoring. If we're able to get it right the first time, it certainly reduces cost factors. So that will be my kind of top tips in terms of attracting the right people, using the use of technology today that assists it, identifying, whether it be outlying conversations or discussion around how far does the potential candidate work? Would it cost them too much to get to work, where someone may go after a job initially because location doesn't seem important, but then practically fails because they live too far. So it's those type of conversations that we need to get real with. We need to be engaging with candidates and really trying to get the higher right part of it to a T.
Okay, yeah. And I mean, does that change if you're doing like a work at home strategy, or is that something that's not really taken off in South Africa?
The work at home piece is incredible, and I absolutely love it. It's expanded our contact center horizons tenfold. The ability to give agents any place, any time, where to work from is the exciting piece. The ability for them to career path and manage teams remotely is really exciting. So it certainly has taken off in South Africa, and it is the new landscape of where new pieces of certain aspects of work in the contact center are moving towards. But it makes the conversational piece and changing of the landscape really exciting in the space.
Yeah, I just mentioned that because of something you said there about hiring for culture. I mean, I think that perhaps if you can cast the net wider than only the people that are able to commute realistically into the office, then it opens it up and allows you to choose from a lot more people.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a fantastic point then. And we're super excited about the space that it's moving in.
Thanks for listening to the CX Files podcast. Please take a moment to review the podcast because this helps other listeners to find it. And if you have any suggestions, then get in touch with me on Twitter or LinkedIn. I am @Mark Hillary with 2 L's, or just search Google for Mark Hillary.